Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this, our final video of 2018. But don't worry, there will be plenty more next year. So this was a pretty fun year for me in the cinema. There were some good ones, there were some bad ones. But here in this video, I want to focus on my top 10 movies for 2018. There will be some spoilers. I'll try to avoid them as much as possible. But before we get onto that, let's talk about, or should I say, give a shout out to my honorable mention, in no particular order: Creed 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet, A Quiet Place, Mission Impossible Fallout, and Bohemian Rhapsody. Number 10, Searching. This movie is every parent's worst nightmare. A child goes missing and you have no idea where to even begin looking. I really enjoyed this movie because it showcases what today really is and how most of our lives is spent on the internet and how much of our lives is shown on the internet. This movie really works because of the way it was shot, essentially through a laptop screen, and also the performance of John Cho is outstanding, and I'd be surprised if he wasn't nominated for an Academy Award. Number 9, 8th Grade. This movie is incredibly easy to relate to because we can all think back on when we were that age, 12, 13, 14, and we're really trying to find ourselves, who we are as a person, trying to fit in with other groups. And that's what this movie does, really taking us back to that moment in our life. And it's Kayla trying to navigate her last few weeks of 8th grade and trying to fit in into a crowd. She's always seen as quiet, as awkward, and really doesn't fit in anywhere. But it's not till the end of the movie that we really start seeing growth within herself, and the relationship between her and her father is a bit difficult because they don't really know how to relate to each other. They don't really know how to communicate, and it's not till the final moments of the movie where they really open up to each other and they understand what they mean to one another. But the standout scene for me has to be the last moments when she's meeting with a friend for lunch, and they're both so shy, so awkward with one another, and they present something that really means much to them, but they throw it out there like it's no big thing. And for her, it's her YouTube channel. For him, it's his accomplishments in archery at camp. And once they show appreciation for what one another likes, they start to develop this relationship, and it's really heartwarming to close out the film on that note. Number 8, Hereditary. No, guys, 8th grade did not make the 8th spot, but Hereditary is a slow burn psychological horror film. They mess with your mind so much. By the time we get to the final climax, I was left speechless. I was shocked. I cannot believe what I was watching. Also, Toni Collette's performance is outstanding. This is one of the few movies that I've seen in the same day more than once. I saw this once in the morning, I saw this once in the afternoon to really understand what I was watching, and by my second viewing I really enjoyed it a whole lot more than I did the first time. Hereditary, scary. BlacKkKlansman. This story takes place in 1970 and it's based on a true story, something that happened in Colorado Springs, if I'm not mistaken. But if you turn on the news, social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you see the same types of things happening today. And towards the end of the movie, we get John David Washington and Adam Driver making complete fools and buffoons out of the Klansmen in this particular chapter. It doesn't mean that we've ended racism. It's all over. We can now celebrate, because the ending montage that touches upon the events of Charlottesville is a cold splash of water in your face and a good reminder that these types of things are still happening, and we have a long ways to go before we reach that moment in time. Number 6, Bumblebee. I can't believe how much I enjoyed this movie after all the disaster we've gotten from the Transformers franchise in the past. Who would have thought that scaling down and making the story about heart and emotion and performances would really work the way it did? I gotta tell you, everything about this movie is so on point. It's an 80s coming of age throwback type movie, and Haley Steinfeld really ties it all together. That's not to say that we don't get any type of action, because we do. One of my most favorite things about this movie is the opening sequence on Cybertron. That is something that we really hadn't explored before, and they did a magnificent job of bringing it all together. So if you guys don't know by the inflection and by my words, I really love Bumblebee. Everyone involved with this movie deserves to get a sequel and a sequel after that. And that's the truth. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This movie is such a joy to watch. Everything from the voice cast to the acting to the story to the music is fantastic. And just think about all the Black/Latino kids who are going to grow up with this as their primary Spider-Man. That's outstanding. Even though it's a movie that involves many other Spider people, alternate universes, you would think it would get crowded and a bit convoluted, but no. They managed to ground it. They managed to keep it simple and easy. And at the same time, it's Miles Morales' origin story. And let me tell you, it almost makes me forgive this studio for bringing us the Emoji Movie. Number 4, Black Panther. This was a groundbreaking movie for the MCU. I was sitting there in the cinema and I could not believe what I was watching. This is outstanding. It's a great movie that is huge in scale, but at the same time it breaks it down and makes it personal, especially for the main villain, Eric Killmonger. And Michael B. Jordan's performance really makes you feel for the character, and at times has you rooting for him. You really have to think about, like, do I want the bad guy to win? Yeah, I kind of do. It's a fantastic, awesome movie. All of the other performances, the music, the soundtrack, everything. It's outstanding and one of the top MCU movies of all time. Annihilation comes in at number 3. And I know this movie didn't hit for everyone, but for me, this movie was outstanding. Even after I finished watching it, I kept thinking about it. And I know some people checked out after that final scene in the lighthouse. But to me, I had to really go back and revisit all the different themes that we get in the story. And self-destruction and perhaps it being built into our DNA was a big part of this movie. And I think that's what really makes it pop, because we all have to deal with those types of stuff one time or another during our lives. And Annihilation is a different type of science fiction film. It's a different type of alien invasion film. And I really like that we got a diverse cast and women leading the charge. Blindspotting comes in at number 2. Any other year this movie would have been my number 1, but what can I say about this movie? It's incredibly intense. It really takes people's prejudice and waves them in your face and makes you acknowledge them. There's one instance in the movie where we get so caught up, well, at least I did. I got so caught up in the story that is being told about a certain character that I forgot to look at the picture. And if you've seen this movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And on top of all of that, they do a good job of representing the culture in Oakland, from their language to their music, but especially their relationship with their sports teams. And yes, I am talking about so that's why I really enjoyed this movie. It's difficult to get through, but I think it's really important that this movie is out there, and I think as many people as they can should watch this. The top spot goes to Avengers Infinity War. I know there will be some of you who have an issue with this, but me, deep down, I'm a nerd. I love these movies. I have invested so much financially, emotionally into the MCU, and to have it all culminate in this big, fantastic story where we get essentially everyone who's been in the MCU in one film is outstanding. To see some of the different combinations of characters we get, and that fight in Wakanda, and that fight on Titan, and to finally see the come to life in a cinematic version of it is just too perfect for me not to have it number 1. I love this movie. I've seen it many times since, and I plan to watch it many times after. Well guys, that is my top 10 list. So now it's your turn to comment down below. Am I wrong? Am I right? Do we agree or disagree? Is there something that's too high? Is there something that's too low? Should there be something on there that I didn't have at all? Should something on there not be there at all? It's your turn to comment down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully you had a great holiday with your friends and family. Here at ATIA, we want to wish you a happy new year. Until 2019, that is all.